This is the finale video for the 40 Days for Footage contest spring 2012. This has been a very uneventful contest this season because there hasn't been many protests for the 40 Days for Life campaign. And we follow them around. We try to get the good and the bad footage. But this time around, there seems to have been not much to see. I have two theories about this. The first is that recently, with the Occupy protests, protesting has gotten sort of a bad image, especially among conservatives. So it might not be the cool thing to do to go out and protest anything. And the second reason I think this is just like Move On and the Tea Party and Occupy, it's already exhausted its initial bang. It's the interest that people showed in it initially. Every one of these movements seems to have a great leap in popularity for the first few times or few months that they exist, and then they sort of peter off. And so maybe this is just part of the natural cycle of different movements. But I personally checked out 3 different 40 Days for Life protests where they should have been outside of women's health clinics. And here's the first one that I did in February. Now, one of those guys had a professionally made sign. It was shaped like a stop sign, and the rest of them weren't holding signs, and that is very strange for the 40 Days for Life protests. They normally all have signs, and there's normally at least one picture of a mutilated dead fetus for people to look at. But they have modified their tactics greatly. And I really do think that this is a reflection of other protests happening all over the world that are giving protesting a bad taste in their mouths. They don't like that style of protesting right now because those other groups that have other values are using those tactics. So all you see is one guy holding a professionally made sign that looks like a stop sign, and one priest in his full regalia. And that's all they brought that day. Next, I went to 2 different women's health clinics, one in Denver and one in Boulder, on the same day in the beginning of March. Here's the footage from those 2. Don't know what the problem is with protesters these days and not showing up to where they say they're going to protest. Just so you guys can see, it is 12:10 on Monday, March 5th, and yeah, right there is Planned Parenthood. This is where the 40 Days for Life in Denver is supposed to be, and I've driven around and they are nowhere. No protesters at all. It is 1:02 p.m. same day, Monday, March 5th, and here we are at the Boulder Abortion Clinic, right? And they've got a lot of surveillance and iron bars and everything, but what they don't have is protesters. This is 40 Days for Life protest number 2 that I have come to visit and see what they're doing, and there is no one here. So, as you can see, I was in the right place at the right time to catch them on camera, but their movement has kind of fizzled out. But on the final day of Lent, on April 1st, there was one incident of abortion protest that does deserve some mention. I'll leave a link in the description box. An abortion clinic in Wisconsin was bombed to close out the 40 Days for Life campaign on the very last day of Lent, you know. And we can't connect the two, really, the actual organization and this bomber, but I have to wonder, does an outlet like 40 Days for Life protesting outside of abortion clinics, does it help to release some of the emotions that people have, or is it actually feeding the people who would later become clinic bombers?